welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good evening, everyone. Today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing and inspiring Marilyn Morales. Marilyn Morales is a registered nurse with over 30 years of experience in the healthcare field. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, Marilyn has been calling New Jersey home since 2004. Marilyn is board certified in holistic nursing and is also a Reiki master. Marilyn will be launching her book When the Answer is No, Finding Purpose Through Pain in January 2023. This journey takes you through her experience with PTSD after her experience in 9/11 in New York and her grief after losing her daughter Isabella to a rare leukemia. As a holistic wellness advisor, Marilyn's passion is education, teaching others how to deal and move forward from the emotional traumas of grief and PTSD. Marilyn also strives to carry on Isabella's legacy by shedding light on the need for diversity in the National Bone Marrow Registry. This is an episode you do not want to miss. Welcome, Marilyn Morales. Good day, Meticulous Moments audience. We have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Marilyn Morales today. Welcome, Marilyn.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
It is such a privilege to have this time with you. Thank you so much for making this time and for making a space in your schedule for us. Would you like to please introduce yourself to the audience? We would love to know more about you.
Absolutely. My name is Marilyn Morales. I am the author of an upcoming book, When the Answer is No, Finding Purpose Through Pain. I am also a registered nurse with over 30 years of experience. I'm actually board certified in holistic nursing, which is a fancy way of saying that I've been educated and I believe in alternate methods of healing, not just traditional Western medicine. I believe that, we are just not a body, mind, and spirit. Is how to treat our patients and ourselves.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love the way that you look at the person in a holistic manner, because what you're saying is so true. We are body, soul, and spirit. We cannot just treat one of the avenues. So thank you. That's wonderful and refreshing to us.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You have to look at a person in all three aspects because every single one of them affects their health.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which brings me to my next question. Our topic is leadership. And we've had our first wonderful virtual coffee the other day. And you shared your profound experience of what happened on that horrible day of 9/11. I believe you were functioning in public health care at the time at a school nearby. How did the events that transpired affect your leadership approach?
So I will share with you that was an extremely difficult day, as we all know that. One thing is watching what unfolded that day on television. Another thing altogether is witnessing something in person. Actually, feeling the impact, seeing the people running through the streets, running for their lives. Most impactful for me that day was actually witnessing those that decided to end their life that day, right? And that was what actually led me, unfortunately, on my path to PTSD.
Yeah.
But on that day, and I will tell you the leadership style, and I'm a person that believes that there's not just one leadership style that you can utilize. You have to use many different styles depending on what's going on.
Yes.
So when we talk about leadership that day, it was, how did I respond to what was unfolding? While tragedy is happening, I was in charge of, I was in an elementary school. So in my charge were babies, as I call them, pre-K through sixth grade students who had just arrived for their day that morning, right? Many of them witnessing the same thing I was on their way into the school. Remember, this happened a little bit after 9 o'clock in the morning. So
Yes.
they were walking in. It was one of the first week of school. So everybody's excited. So being able to help manage the chaos, bring
Yes.
everyone together, bring my fellow coworkers that were working in the school that were not medical professionals. I was the only medical professional in the building, right? So
Yes.
bringing everybody together and deciding, hey, listen, let's work together. Let's get these students to safety. All communications had gone down. So we were trying to match up children with parents or somebody in their family who had come by to pick them up and get them to safety.
Yes.
That was difficult. So my leadership in that day was one of, everybody working together, family style, as I call that. I'm sure that there's a fancy name for it, but it's everybody has input, not just me, right?
Wow.
But there were certain times that I had to take control as well and say, this is what we're doing.
Yes. That, I've got goosebumps just thinking of the trauma, the anxiety and the stress, that you were going through internally. I know that, when we lead and when everything goes wrong, we don't show it outwardly, but inward we have, the same emotions as other people. I can just imagine the pressure that was on you, being the only healthcare individual in the building, having to take charge. When people panic, they don't stay calm. When there is trauma, when there is an event, they overreact. Some people, react better to it than other people. So I can just imagine the chaos that you found yourself in. And I commend you on having been able to keep a clear head and to do what you needed to do, even while you were going through, even though you were going through the same emotions as them. That must have taken a huge amount of courage.
And I will tell you, we hear stories like this about firefighters who rushed in, police officers who rushed in. You don't know how you're going to react to a situation until you're actually there. Right?
Wow.
So is it courage? What is it? Is it, God leading us to what we need to do and providing that calm in the storm? Because I believe there was a lot of that going on as well. Okay. So I don't know what to call it. It's something different, because I will tell you that, 2 weeks prior to the attack actually happening, and I think I shared this with you on our coffee chat, that the public health nurses of New York City were taken to Columbia University for disaster training. It was the first time that this had occurred. I did not know this because it was my first time. This was a new job for me. So it was the first time that I had gone through training before school opened. I had asked some of my coworkers that were there, like, oh my God, you guys go through this every year? Because I was surprised to hear that we were training for a disaster. And they shared that it was the first time. And at that time, I thought to myself, if a disaster does actually happen in the city, I have a baby at home, a 9-month-old at home that I was still breastfeeding. And I had a almost 4-year-old little girl also. So in my thought, if something is happening in the city, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think you're training me for. I didn't sign up for that. That was my thought. I was like, I'm going home. Morales is going home. And I said that to everybody. I said that to my husband when I got home. Can you believe the training I just had? Something happens, I'm heading home. Well, guess what? 2 weeks later, it happens. Morales doesn't go home. Wow. I'm there, and I'm saying, and this is after a phone call to my family, letting them know that I was fine, because they knew that I was only, mile 2 away from the trade center. They're seeing this on television. They don't know what's going on with me. And I'm like, I'm fine. You guys stay together, and they were begging me to come home. They were begging me to leave the city because the city was under attack. And I had to say, my mother was on the phone crying. I'm her baby, right? And she's telling me, come home, please. And I'm like, I cannot. I have babies here under my care. I cannot leave them. Yeah. So I was like, take care of mine. I'm going to make it home. I promise you I will make it home. So,
that is very inspiring.
What you do that day is going to be very different from what you think you're going to do.
Yes, that is a wonderful lesson that we learn. And we don't know what to call it. I call it courage, but we don't really know what name to pin on what happened that day. And the phrase that comes in my mind is grace, the grace of God, because He prepared you 2 weeks before. And I think that's how you had that calm to say, well, I know what to do. I recently went on training and I actually know what to do in this situation. So, I often tell people when things like that happen, or when I counsel, or when I have a meeting and people testify, I always tell them that there's a phrase that says, we are born for a time such as this. And it wasn't to me a coincidence that you went through that training and 2 weeks later you were in that chaos and God placed you there and you knew what to do. And here you are today and you are telling the story. You lived through it to tell the story.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. God's grace is what gets you through. Because that one-day training did not prepare me for what I was about to see, right? Because my mind could not comprehend what I was seeing. Yeah. Because you tell, well, this is what we're going to do, but they don't tell you how you're going to feel when you're witnessing things. Now, as a nurse, I've witnessed death before, right? Yes. I've been present when someone is moving from this world to the next, right? But when it happens to that extent and in that scenario, it's a whole different thing that your mind goes through and just trying to get through the emergency. So the person who did run, were they not courageous? No, I feel that they just didn't know what to do. Their mind could not tolerate it. Yes, I think my life completely from where I grew up. I didn't grow up in the best areas, I grew up in a low-income housing project, right? My parents had come from Puerto Rico to New York City. So the resilience and faith that they raised me with prepared me for when something happens, you call on God to calm you and allow you to think, what is my next step? Guide me. What's my internal compass? What's this telling me to do and act on it?
I love that. I'm thinking clarity. As you were speaking, that's the word of clarity. He gives us clarity. Amen, my sister, preach it. Because God uses everything we go through in our lives to shape us and mold us into the leaders that we become. And He gets the glory. I mean, what would we do without Him?
That's absolutely. I have never been a day without faith. I call myself a cradle Catholic. I'm Catholic. A cradle Catholic is somebody who was born into that, right? We don't know any different because this is what mommy and daddy taught us is to be. But, it was. We're all like that. We're all like that. Where we all have to have like that. Yeah. It's an internal compass, but that doesn't mean that my Catholicism is any better than anyone else's, faith, whatever we call it. And I always say God is on top of the mountain. We're all trying to get on top of this mountain, right? And we're all finding different ways. But what's important is that we made it.
Absolutely. God is God, and His Spirit testifies with our spirit that we are His children. And that's enough. Yeah.
He doesn't care how we get up there. He doesn't care what you call yourself. He knows that I've called you my son, my daughter. And it is time for you to come, listen to my guidance, the same way that we listen to our parents' guidance. We have to listen to His guidance, and He will not lead us astray. He will not.
Absolutely. We can trust Him.
Absolutely. And trust that He is within us so that we can trust ourselves, which is, I think, the biggest obstacle that people have. They don't trust your inner compass. They don't trust the God within us. And we have to learn to do that.
That's a very important point. I love that. Very, very important point. Now, we spoke about the aftermath, We talked about the fact that many people couldn't leave the surroundings of the Twin Towers as they lived in the area. They couldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
How did that affect you personally, to kind of know that you had the possibility to go home, you could, but these people were stuck in and around the surroundings where all of this transpired? How did that affect you? How did that make you feel?
I had a mix of emotions, right? Glad that I was able to walk home, if that, and that many people were able to walk home. I didn't live in Manhattan. So there was a possibility that I was not going to be able to leave Manhattan. So I felt the fear that they did. But I will tell you again, in God's grace, that I shared that this was a new job for me, right? So the people, the teachers, and the other people that were in this community that I was a part of really did not know me, right? They had just met me. Yet I cannot tell you how many teachers stopped by the office and said, "We know you're not from here. Come to my house. I will give you my address. If you cannot make it home, I will keep you in my home. I will feed you. I will keep you safe until you're able to go home." Can I tell you how impactful that was? Strangers telling me, "You're welcome in my home." And we had a lot of that in the aftermath. A lot of people, New York City is known for that not care attitude, right?
I don't know. Okay.
They're known for that rough, tough, exterior that we have. But that day transformed many, many lives, and we became something different, and we truly, regardless of color, race, whatever you were welcomed into people's home, and everybody was looking out for each other. And my response was, "Thank you so much, but I'm going to make it home." Because I didn't want to alter my mind to nothing else. I have to get home to my family. They have no idea what has happened to me since this morning, because all communications were down, and I need to get home to my babies. I said I was going home.
And you'd already put your mind on it, and you were going to do it.
I was going to go home. I was going to go home. Yep.
The intention was there, and you led with intention. You were like, you're gonna sort out what you need to sort out, but you are gonna go because your family needs you. Yeah. Wow, wonderful that they would open their homes to you. That's community. That is what community is all about. Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I said, I talk about that all the time, because these are people that didn't know me. They did not know me, yet they made, and they had just met me, yet they had intentionally stopped to where I was before they went home. As the children started going home, then obviously the workers could go home, except for those medical professionals. Now I had my other coworkers that, work from other areas that came. I had put the SOS out saying, "Hey, I'm not from here. If there's a nurse that is from here that could take my place, I would truly appreciate it, because I want to go home." So, and it happened.
That's your destination.
And it happened. Everybody heard, "Hey, Morales is trying to go home. Let's get her home." Let's say the nurses that were there, especially one that worked with me in the office. She lived across the street from the school that we were at, and she was like, I gave all my belongings to her. And we had just met too. I handed her my keys, my purse. The only thing I took was my identification and a $20 bill, and stuck that in my pocket. That's it. Yeah. You have all my belongings. I'm going home.
Good. I love that. Well, crisis does breed a move of God, and he does move in magnificent ways. And, you were saying about how things are too difficult sometimes for us to comprehend and to take in. And that's very true. Sometimes the things that we are faced with are so big. They're so much bigger than we are. And you hit the nail right on the head when you said that God gives us that ability to digest what we are going through. And you knew in that moment, you only needed your card and a $20 bill, because you weren't relying on what you physically had with you. You were relying on God to get you home. And that's why your intention was, and that's what you spoke your faith as well, growing up in a home of faith. You were speaking your faith, and you believed what you said, and it was so. So that's also a wonderful example to other people. Amazing.
Yeah, you can't take your belongings with you, not even when we leave this earth.
Never.
Right? Never. We're not taking
even
things.
Yeah.
ID I just wanted, so just in case I had to prove who I was.
Yeah, you're like, I'm one
This
of
is
the
who
good
I
guys.
am. Let me out of here, and $20 just in case I
Now,
needed it. But it's not like we could even use it for anything. So it was just like, this is the only two things that I think I need right now in order to get to my destination.
yeah.
And because I was, if the train was working, I needed to pay to get into the train. you know,
I love
uh,
that. I love that.
I was like,
Logical thinking.
that's it. Listen, when you teach kids about fires, right? And when you're teaching people about fire
Yeah.
and your fire plan, what do you
Yeah.
say? Leave everything behind, right? Save
Yes.
yourself. Save
Yes.
yourself, because that's all you got. Everything else you can acquire again,
Yes.
right? Whatever
True.
you got doesn't matter. It really
Yeah.
holds no value. Things hold
Yeah.
value because we give them value,
Yes.
and
Wow.
we
Yeah.
forget to value us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
I
love
value
that.
you. I love, we value our families, we value our friends, but we forget
Yeah.
us in that equation.
Absolutely true. Bringing us to family. About your family, how does your family structure work? How do you instill good leadership values in your home? What is your approach to that?
I feel like I give the same approach to my family that my mother shared with me. My mother's my hero. I lost her in 2020. I shared that with you before. And she taught me everything I needed to know to survive in life, and I teach all my children, not just my sons, but my daughter as well,
Yeah.
is to, number one, listen to that inner compass. When you are leading others, do you know how to lead yourself?
Yes.
Right?
Wow. Important. Wow.
Leading yourself means having the discernment to understand that leadership and anything in life begins with perspective.
Yes.
How you view the situation in front of you. Do you view that situation as a problem, or do you view that situation as just an obstacle that I need to overcome?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not something in my way, but something that's temporarily in my way, and I've got to find a way. So, do I know how to lead myself into the right decisions, cause no harm to others, make sure that whatever you decide, you are not causing harm to another. Do unto others as you would do to yourself. All tenets of good leadership. So if you teach your family those tenets that also belong to our faith, then you will be good leaders.
Yes. So true. So true. And leaders, in essence, are problem solvers.
Yes.
I mean, what would we be doing? How would we be leading if there were no problems to solve? If life was just easy and everything just fell into place every day? We wouldn't need leaders. We wouldn't need to be shaped. We wouldn't need to learn. And it's wonderful that your mother is your role model and your hero, because she placed all those values in your life because she wanted the best for you. And here you are, a mother of your own children, and you are instilling the same values in your children, and it is becoming her legacy through you. And one day your children will take those principles, and they will hand it over to their children. And really, that's how it is supposed to be. We are supposed to build each other, and we're supposed to invest in each other's development. So I find that amazing. Wow. Good approach. Wow.
Listen, I had the benefit of that God gave me the best two parents that, I could have wanted or needed. I was very blessed by the both of them. I mentioned my mom more because she was my role model as a woman, which was going to be difficult to navigate life. It's a little easier for the men to do that. Unfortunately, it's a reality, and we have to accept that it's true. Let's not argue about it. We know it's true. And her whole thing was, because I grew up in this, type of environment, and in the Latin community, the men tell you what to do, and, you follow that. And she was like, it was very frustrating for her. And she said, I want you to be independent. I want you to rely on you and not on someone else, because one day I hope that you will have your own family. And I don't ever want you to feel, should it be because of a poor marriage choice? We hope that that's not the case. Or because something happens to your spouse and you don't know what life is going to bring you. You want to be able to be, resourceful to your family, which was her number one lesson. Everything that I teach you and tell you is for your own good, so that you are a resourceful person for your family, period.
Wow.
And that transpires into your work family, right?
Yes.
You have your family, but you have your work family. Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. My mom was, she also, and that's another connection point for us. My mom also passed away in 2020, but not of COVID, of stage 4 brain cancer. And she always said this to me, because I grew up without a dad. And she always said this to me. She said, nothing is too difficult for you. Since I was a small child, she always used to stop me in the house, and she used to take me by the shoulders and look me in the eye and say, nothing is too difficult for you. And I grew up believing that. And I still believe that today, because my mind is not focused on how difficult something is. My mind is focused on, oh, this is a challenge. How am I going to overcome this? So she had such a input in my life, and she was not a big lady. She was a small in stature, but we feared her when we grew up, because she was always watching, but in a good, healthy way. So and when she was on her deathbed, she called me and she said, because she was only 65, and she said there's so many regrets that she had, because she didn't do the things that she wanted to do, because she thought she had until she's 80, 85. And she said, Jay, you need to start doing the things you want to do now. She said, don't wait, because like you just mentioned, we don't know what tomorrow holds. Absolutely. Go out and do those things. And the day I buried her, I had the privilege of doing her funeral. I looked at that grave and I thought to myself, I'm going to do what she told me, and I'm just going to live life to the full. And I haven't looked back. And moms are important like that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of the things that I'm doing now are things that she wanted me to do back then. When she wanted me to share my journey of coming out of PTSD, she wanted me to share, my daughter's journey and dealing with that as well. She said, you need to share this. You need to share this in a bigger way. And I would always tell her, it's not my time. It's not my time. When the heck is it going to be my time? If it's not today, then when is it? And I thought I had, until she died when she was 78, but I thought I had so many years in front of us for us to share together. I did not know that I would be doing life without her. I knew that that day would come one day, but I didn't know that it would be now. So, and in her honor, I'm doing all these things. I wish I would have done them before, but you can't keep wishing. You have to stop wishing and start doing,
True. And they're proud of us, Marilyn. They're proud of us. Yeah, they see us and they're chuckling together, probably.
Yeah. And then you know what? On the other side, I truly believe that on the other side, they're orchestrating yours and my life, right? They're like, okay, let's go.
You go, girls.
Exactly. And I'm sure that's happening.
Yeah. I love that. So, it brings me to the next question, and it is this very difficult question for me to ask, but I know that it is going to touch the hearts and the minds of so many people. And it is the following. You went through a terrible tragedy with your daughter, who was diagnosed with cancer. Please tell us more about that.
So, couple years after 9/11, my PTSD associated with that, and finally feeling I was rounding the corner and getting a hold of that. And, we had moved from New York to New Jersey, and part of that was to heal the mind. We had a daughter, baby girl named Isabella, in 2007, and when she was 7 months old, was diagnosed with a leukemia, but not just a regular leukemia, a rare leukemia. That leukemia was called JMML, juvenile myelomonocytic leukemia. It is a cancer of babies. Usually the diagnosis is children under the age of 6 or 3 years old, around that age range. And she was only 7 months old. 7 months old. And the only treatment for that type of cancer, there was no cure. So the only chance for a cure from this was a bone marrow transplant. And anyone that knows about a bone marrow transplant knows that, they look in the family first to see if that person's a match. So your best chance for survival and for, minimal complications are for a sibling. because you share the same mother and father, and you inherit half your genes from your mother, half from your father. So finding a sibling that's a match is your best opportunity. So the first thing they did was look at my children and have them tested, and neither one of them was a match for her. Of course, my husband and I were only half matches for her, and it wasn't good enough for the transplant that she needed. So they told us now we have to search out into the National Registry for a stranger to save my daughter. A stranger. So imagine feeling how powerless that feels, that the four of us could do nothing to help her, that she needed this. We were hoping to keep it at bay until she was 2 years old. So there was, chemotherapy that she would undergo to get her until the point where she was 2 years old, where she was stronger and could undergo this transplant, and hopefully in that time frame find someone. One of the first things that was shared with us was, okay, now you need to start working on having drives, because there's not a lot of Hispanics out there that have joined the registry. And not only do they join the registry, but they have to be willing to say yes once identified as a match.
Yeah.
Just joining the registry doesn't mean that you're obligated to go through with it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was told it's going to be really hard for you to do that. We encourage that you get on television and the newspapers and bring as much attention to try to find your daughter's match. Well, that was hard. That was hard to hear, So that's why today I am very passionate about the National Bone Marrow Registry, because I don't ever want another mother or father, family member to feel the way that we felt then. So as a nurse, I collected all the labs and things like that had to do with my daughter's illness. So one of the things was the result of the blood test that told us if we were matches for my daughter or not. It's called an HLA typing. It's a protein that's on our cells that identifies whether or not you're a match. So I had copies of those. And back then you could enter that data into the computer and it would tell you how many matches. You could no longer do that today. But back then you could able to do that, and it would show how many matches were out there. It doesn't tell you where they are, who they are, nothing identifiable, but it gave you a number, whether or not there was. So I entered Isabella's information and I saw that she had some matches out there. I entered my husband. He had some matches. I entered myself and my other two children, and there was no one out there for us. So I see this and I feel like my heart is stopping. I feel cold. And I call my husband over and I go, oh my God, look at this. Isabella was the only one out of our children who stood a chance at actually finding a match. Had it been me, had it been my other two children, there was no one out there for us.
My goodness.
So I told him at that time, I said, no matter what happens, we have to continue to have drives. We have to continue to do something to help this discrepancy that exists. So at that point, I had to refocus myself. Although I continued to have drives, even though Isabella had matches, I continued to hold drives, in hopes to find matches for other people as well. And then we had to focus on her journey, right? Yeah. So I'm going to fast forward now and to see to show you how God works. And my oldest daughter, who was only 10 years old when her sister passed, now works for Be the Match, now works for the organization that finds your match.
Wow.
But she's the person. Yes, praise God. And then she dedicated her life to it. She listened to her inner compass that I talk about, and he led her on this path. And now she's sharing with me. Now she's 24 years old and she's sharing with me, Mom, look at this. I'm still having drives for people that are Hispanic. And just to give you some perspective, if you're white, you have a 79% chance of finding your match. If you're Hispanic today, you have a 48 chance to find yours. If you're Black, 29%. Look at that drop. So she was like, that's a big drop. And she was like, it's still hard. It's still hard. And I'm like, nope, I have to do something more. I have to bring attention. I have to get out of my comfort zone, start talking about it. And that's when I decided to write my book, sharing my experiences, with that, in hopes to get people to join the National Registry.
Amazing, amazing. Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place, looking for that donor looking for someone who would step up to the plate. That stress, accompanied with that, seeing that there are matches, not knowing where to find them. But look at all the good that has transpired through that. Your daughter is
Absolutely.
actively helping a lot of people. I know your novel is making such a big impact in people's lives. So, really, all of those things culminated to something positive and strong and a way forward for other people who might not have known what to do in a situation like this. So, I think it's amazing how everything just came together. That is wonderful.
Yeah, and that's why the name of the book is when the answer is no. How many of us hope and pray for positive situations
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
things, and we feel like the universe is giving a no. When I lost my daughter, I felt that the God that I dedicated my life to,
Yeah.
medicine, who I literally dedicated my life to, had
Yes.
let me down,
Yes.
had given me a no. But I was
Yeah.
able to find the God in all of that. I was able to find the purpose within the pain, to be able to bring it forward for a message of hope, that
Beautiful.
nothing happens to us. And we don't have to look at, like you said, is it an obstacle or is it a challenge? And
Yes.
what's good? And we have to make it. I want my daughter's life to have meant something,
Yes.
that she
Absolutely.
didn't go through all of this for no reason,
Mm, mm,
that there was a
mm.
reason for it. And yes, there
Yes.
is. And her story continues to inspire others. Her story continues to want people to join that registry. And don't
Mm.
wait until it's your turn. Don't wait until it happens to you to take
Yeah.
action.
Awesome message. Awesome message. And I love your title. Your title, in my opinion, is perfect. It draws attention, but you also have that knowing that this is going to be something profound that you're going to read. Because when I read the title, when the answer is no, finding purpose through pain, I looked at it from my point of view in my life when I've had no's,
Yeah.
thrown in my direction. So really, in my opinion, the title is excellent. I love it, and I know it's
Thank
going
you.
to draw a lot of people. And it's going to heal them, and they can take that knowledge and apply it to their situation in their area of study, or the things that they've gone through. Lovely, lovely title.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. So we discussed your daughter's stem blood and what happened to the vial when you decided to donate it for research, which I think took a lot of guts to do because it was a part of her that you had. Can you
Absolutely.
elaborate on this? What happened in that moment when you were, I'd say, obedient to the call of the Lord? Because that's how I
Mhm.
see it.
And I see it the same way. So I had stored her cord blood when she was born. Now, this is a decision that many parents, it's brought to their attention. There's something that you can do with this cord blood. I had not done that for my other two children. Yet when I was pregnant with her, I kept seeing ads and magazines and things, and it kept catching my eye. Like, why do I keep seeing these things? I didn't think it was that impactful before, but there was something inside of me telling me to do it, to the point where I asked my doctor about it. And, her response to me was, I feel it's a good technology that's emerging, right? It can be used to treat sickle cell anemia, cancers, leukemias, right?
Wow.
Something that I didn't even know my own daughter, the child that I was carrying, was going
Yeah.
to be afflicted with. So she said, I think it's great, but I think it should be made available to all, not just those that can afford it. But if you want to, I will give you the information. There's several
Yeah.
companies, and you can choose and make that decision before you go into labor, because you have to have this kit with you. So I told her, great, thank you. Give me the information, because I feel so strongly. There's just something
Mhm.
strange about this whole thing, that I
Yeah.
feel that I must do it. I feel like I must do it. So I called a company and went through the details of it. And because I was a nurse, because I was willing to speak about it, because I was
Yes.
willing to refer others, I received several discounts. They were giving discounts, right?
Oh,
And he gave
good.
me so many discounts that he made it affordable for me. So I was like, fantastic. There's no
Thank
reason
you.
for me to say no. Yeah, I was like, because the only thing that was going to hold me back was, how much does it cost? Am I going to be able to
Wow.
afford this? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God removed the obstacle. No more
Amen.
obstacle for you. There's no reason why you can't do this. And I decided, and I
Wow.
did it, and I spoke about it. So
Yeah.
here it is. I collect this cord blood. I store it. My daughter now, months later, is diagnosed with leukemia. So my first thought, I'm in intensive care unit, and I ask, oh my God, I saved her cord blood. Can that, because you're telling me it's going to be hard to find her match. I have her cord blood. So they were like, no, unfortunately, because of the cancer that she has, because of the leukemia she has, we cannot use it. So the doctor advised me, call them up, stop, don't waste your money, tell them to dispose of it, stop paying for it. Well, she walked away, and it didn't sit right with me. Again, I'm having that strange feeling. And I'm getting this download, as I call it. I'm getting these thoughts like, oh my God, this is a rare cancer. Why wouldn't somebody want to get information from that cord blood? This is a blood cancer. There must be information in that. So I called the doctor back and I say, hey, you just told me to get rid of this, but because this cancer is so rare, don't you think that this, cord blood would be beneficial to research, to figure something out about this?
Wow.
And she said, I didn't think of that. And she goes, you know what? The person who actually is researching this cancer that we're working with to actually diagnose your daughter, she's in California, and it's 3 hours earlier there. It was late for us. It was like maybe midnight, right? Between 11 and midnight. She goes, so maybe she's still awake. Let me go send her a message. Let me find out. Well, she goes back, she calls, and she goes, absolutely. She's like, there's a form that you have to fill out, and so that it can be released to her, and she will gladly take it, right? So this is how God works, obviously. The cord blood that I had chosen, guess where that was? California, right? Where's the researcher? California. Actually,
No coincidence. Wow. I've got goosebumps.
this is in walking distance. They could have walked it right over to this researcher. They did, like this. They got it to her immediately. Now we're fast forwarding, right? And I'm hoping and I'm praying when I lose my daughter, now this is a year later, that I don't leave this earth without knowing that my daughter's life meant something. Yes. But I'm not thinking about this cord blood. I know that, she was researching, looking into it. She was testing it. She was trying to find things. Well, I get a phone call from my oncologist, Isabella's oncologist, and says, hey, Dr. Lowe, who is the doctor who, you gave the cord blood to, is coming and doing a speaking engagement in Philadelphia. And she asked if she could meet you in person. And could I facilitate that? So would you guys be willing to come to the hospital and meet? I said, of course. And they tell me she has something to share with you. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, what could this possibly be?
Yeah.
Well, what they share with me is that because of Isabella's cord blood, she was able to identify the gene that mutated to cause the cancer. One that had not been identified before.
Breakthrough in the research.
Breakthrough in the research. And that she was able to go, other specimens of other children and found the same mutation. So unidentified until her, and is advancing research. Absolutely. So the reason to save that I had this overwhelming sense and obedience, right? We call that obedience. Yes. When God is talking to you, I could have said, yeah, I'm going to throw that away. I'm not going to keep wasting money. Mm-hmm. But God is telling me it's not about the money. We just talked about value, things that have value, and things that there is no measure to the value of knowledge and research. And when God speaks to you, answer the call. You don't have to know the reason why. I kept saying, I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't have a reason for this, right? I can't tell you. It sounds crazy, but I'm doing it because I have this weird feeling.
Yeah.
And thank God I followed it. Thank God I followed it.
And Isabella's life is having an impact on so many others' lives. She's saving lives.
She's saving, absolutely. So guess what? Her life that just means something. Her life means everything.
Her life means everything. Amen to that. And I know that feeling that you are describing, because often God would work with me in that way. He would not stop. A certain thought would come to my mind continuously. And I know if that happens, I'm like, I have to do this. Like, really, I can't not do this. I'm feeling a bit emotional because so often he comes to us and he says, do this. And then we just ignore him. And he comes back and he says, do this or speak to this person, or even if it's just a call or a message or a reaching out we should always just be obedient like you were. We should always just follow his leading, because there's always a purpose behind that, like your book says, finding purpose through pain.
And I'm not always obedient. Sometimes I get in my head, right? And
all of us.
Yeah. And then when I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew I should have done that, right? But we fight it. We get into our heads because we're like, is this really something, or is it just me and my crazy head, you know?
Yeah, true.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We do it all the time. But when things happen like that, we have to listen. That's an inner compass. That's that inner knowing. That's the God within, right? It's not a voice. It's the God within, because we are God. God is us.
Yes,
It's
that
that inner wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, even if people think I'm crazy, because a lot of times we don't act on it because we are concerned about how others will view what we are doing and saying.
Yeah.
I've finally gotten to a point in my life where that doesn't matter to me anymore.
Wonderful. And that's the most wonderful place to be. That is your place of purpose and your place of power. That is your power zone, when you are really not worried about what people think anymore. And I said in the previous session I think it was with J.R. Spear, I said to J.R., leaders have to be thick-skinned. We are going to get some flack. People are going to criticize us because they don't always understand what we do and why, and how we're going to do it. If we have a vision and they don't grab hold of that vision, sometimes we have to be thick-skinned, just a little bit. Shouldn't worry.
We always criticisms will always come, right? Life is about balance. There is no good without bad, because without bad we wouldn't recognize that things were good.
Absolutely. I love that.
We hear that all the time. We hear that all the time, right? That was my mother always said that. As I said, there was so many nuggets and gems, I call them gems, that my mother shared that, they were just sayings, but the sayings are so important. True. And it is true. There's always going to be people that look at you with envy, with this, with that. They wish they had, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't have anything that you should envy or want, right?
Yes. So and still it happens.
It still happens. I'm like, there's nothing more special about me than there is in you. There's no difference except I'm acting on it, and you're not.
Yeah, you see that, and they've got no one else to blame but themselves. They shouldn't project that on us. They've got no one else to blame but themselves. They've got God's given them abilities as well, but they choose not to use it. So
perspective and choice, right? I always say those are my two things. That's what life is about. Don't even think about anything else. It's the way that you look at something and the choices that you make based on how you're looking at it. So when something feels awful, in a different way, different decision. Yes. Make a different one. You can't change what you did. But you can change what you do moving forward.
Yeah, change your choices. Wonderful, wonderful. Because the choices that we make is the life that we live. Absolutely. We get ourselves into situations. Yeah,
we get ourselves. And listen, be gentle with yourself. That's my biggest message, right? Because we are our worst critic every day. For every positive thing that somebody says, I can say 10 negative things back, and it's a struggle that we all have difficulty accepting, positive comments and praise and because we think that we're not good enough, but it's not being prideful. It's just accepting ourselves and having that confidence that God is within. Yeah. And God doesn't make junk, as they say, right?
He only makes the best.
He only makes the best. And it's just us that have to make the decisions. And, we have to remember that sometimes decisions aren't easy. My moving from New York to New Jersey, hard.
Yeah.
And I could beat myself up a million times for leaving my home, but it was a decision that I had to make, and it led me to so many other breakthroughs in my life.
Amen. Amen. Leaders choose things that are difficult. Mm-hmm. Leaders choose things that are difficult. We don't always choose the easy route. Because no one said mediocre. Leaders are not mediocre people. They are vibrant, colorful, and strong and impactful. I love that. I love that. Now, I love this question. Which leadership approach do you employ in your current role where you are?
So my
my leadership approach
Depends on the day and the situation. You have to have tools in the toolbox. There is not just one leadership style that's going to work. You have to be willing to be versatile in your approach. So when a situation arises and we have, let's say, a disaster or something suddenly comes up, you have to be able to be that take charge person to say, okay, let's do this. And guess what? It may not be the best choice that we make, but a choice has to be made, right?
Yeah. Someone has to.
And I'm going to accept it. If it's a positive outcome, if it's a negative outcome, if it's positive, then great. Then we know it's going to work again. If it's not, then we just learned not to do that again. That it didn't work.
Yeah.
Guess what? During COVID, right? How many times didn't the direction of our leaders change almost on a daily basis? In the morning, we're getting direction. In the nighttime, we're getting a different direction. Some of them made sense. Some of them didn't make sense. But you learn and you grow from each one of them. So yes, I'm decisive. You know, that's an approach I take. I also take others' experiences and input into my decision. So during COVID, let's talk about that. When I was working with my teams during COVID and we're treating our COVID patients and we're getting different directives, I said, you know what, especially to my nurses' aides who are there doing the physical work in the rooms, I want your input. Tell me what would make you feel safer. What do you think is working? What do you think is not? Because based on your feedback, I'm going to make a decision based on that. So talk to me. And then they would give me suggestions. And I was like, you know what? I like that. Let's do it. Let's do it. And if it doesn't work, you still have the ability to change that. So
absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful way of looking at it. Because you are with assistant living communities.
Yes, assisted living communities.
And your leadership shines through to me as being adaptable. You look at a situation, you make a quick decision because you know life and death depends on it often. So you make the decision, you test if it works. If it doesn't work, you change it. Wow.
It's versatility.
Yeah.
It's the Morales approach. Let's coin that.
I love the Morales approach. The Morales approach. I see the headline.
That's right. The leadership. It's, hey, listen, it's very, I always say I'm very unscripted, right? Everything I don't know it's going to be. I don't know that. I cannot promise you that it's going to work because there are things that have worked. And then in this situation, it didn't, right? But we have to be okay with it. We have to be okay with, sometimes we have to take a detour. It's you know, always, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. Be adaptable. Be okay with yourself. Be okay with your inner compass to say, okay, I messed up. Nothing I can do about that. I can't change what I made. Let's do something different.
I love that. I love the Morales approach. It's amazing.
We just created it. We just created it.
We'll remember on the 17th of August, 2022.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's here. It's documented, so nobody can take it.
Yes, I love that. So tell me, Marilyn, what was the reason for your change from your role as a long-term care supervisor over to being a public health nurse? Why did you make that decision?
So that decision was difficult, and it had many reasons to it. Number one was family. I had a situation that made me realize that I needed to spend more time with my family. So I had an opportunity to take a position that allowed me to be on the same schedule as my daughter, who would just be starting school. She'd be starting pre-K in the fall. So I said, I want to get into it so that I'm off the same days, I'm home around the same time. I want to make sure that I'm there for my children. And, you know, I couldn't be a stay-at-home mom, so I wanted to be able to maximize on my mom time. Number two, I was frustrated with my job. I was a long-term care supervisor, and I felt frustrated daily on leading others that didn't want to change their ways, right? So, you know, it's every day you want to make new decisions and you want to guide people. And I was very young. And when you're very young and you're in a leadership position, those that are under your supervision, and in my case, were a lot older than I was, had more experience than I did. Yet the leadership saw in me something that they felt could benefit the organization that they didn't identify in the others.
Yes.
So they felt I would be a good charge nurse, and from charge nurse, I became the facility supervisor. Well, I'm sure there was a lot of people that didn't like that, because here I was young with not that a lot of experience, even though I had been a nurse since I'm 17, but now I'm in my 20s, right? I'm in my 20s. So a whole decade I spent in nursing, but to them, they had spent 2 decades or 3 decades in nursing. And what did this young girl know, you know? So it was frustrating, to say the least, that I'm trying to bring you into, let's try something different. And I said, you know what? I'm so tired of being in charge of others and people not listening. I just want to be in charge of me, make decisions for me. And being in that environment, I was the only medical professional, aside from the person that worked with me in the office. So I could truly make the decisions, and I only had myself to answer to.
Perfect. I love that. Perfect. That was a good move.
Yeah, I was leading myself for a little while, and I was like, this is what I want to do right now because I'm tired. And, I see that a lot in not just nursing, but in a lot of different, businesses and organizations, but in nursing, I can only speak on nursing, where there's a lot of frustration in the leadership because of that.
I love that. And I resonate with that, because from my side in the ministry, we've also had that where, you're a young pastor, you take over a big church, but the church board and the leadership are all elderly people, that have been in the church. They've been since the start of the church, and they've always been there, and they have a certain set way of doing things. And it's not always welcomed when you come in with a fresh perspective, and you kind of look at the big picture and say, well, this needs to change, because we have to keep the ministry relevant. It has to be relevant for people. They have to be able to associate with what church is today. So I also had circumstances where elder people would be like, no, but we can't do this because we've always done it this way. So I am so happy that you made that decision. I think it was the best decision you could make for yourself and your family, just to get out of that space, because some things are taught and some things are caught, and sometimes they just don't catch the vision. They just don't see what you're talking about, and it's better than to get out of that place. So I commend you on taking that chance and making that beautiful move.
No, thank you. I mean, I obviously a few months after that, making that decision and making that move, I said, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into?" Because that's when everything went crazy, and I'm like, "But you know what? I knew that it was something again that I needed to do." It wasn't a coincidence that it led me to be there. It wasn't a coincidence that I was there during 9/11, that I experienced what I did, and that I would need to carry that forward for things that would continue to happen. Not everybody has things like this that happen to them, right? They don't.
True.
And why was I chosen to have so many things? There's a saying that people, especially after losing my daughter, would say, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And to that, I would always say, well, God overestimated me. He truly did. I was very angry, and I was like, God, he just did it. He just did it. He just gave me more than I can handle. Right?
Yeah.
But guess what? We feel like that. But guess what the perspective actually is? It's not that God, didn't give me more. I say God overestimated me. But it was that I truly underestimated myself.
Yes, I love that. I agree with you completely. Because he knows what abilities he put inside of us. We are just sometimes too scared to access those abilities because it stretches us beyond our limits. And it hurts. Finding purpose in pain, your book, it hurts.
It hurts. It's painful. And so I've had a lot of pain. And I know there's a lot of people out there in pain. Yeah. I just want you to be able to take the first step. All you got to do is take one. I liken it to when you're unable to move, it's like you're stuck in concrete. Your feet are stuck in concrete. But you got to break the concrete and you got to take the first step. Accept that you're going through something. Accept that you're stuck. A lot of times people are in denial and say, oh, no, I'm fine. No, you're not fine.
Yeah.
No, you're not fine. Somebody said that to me. You're not fine. You're not well. You need help. That's how I realized that I needed the help, because a friend said, there's something not right with you. You're not the same person, so you get yourself some help. And I ended up going through the path of trying to help myself.
Wonderful. It takes that one person, that one faithful friend, just to speak into our lives, because often because we are strong characters, we've got strong personalities. Sometimes we think that reaching out for help makes us weak.
Yes.
And we don't want to feel weak. And we don't want to look weak. So that's why it's difficult for us sometimes to accept help or to accept a compliment even. Because we give all the time. We're not used to it going the other way. Yeah.
Yes. And, that was one of my big life lessons, is accepting help from others, accepting help from strangers.
Yes.
When I was going through that battle with my daughter, I could not work full time. We had just moved. We have other children. My husband's trying to work, and we're trying to be there for our daughter. But I was a primary caregiver, right? And I could not work full time. Well, I will tell you that the town that I live in, and I give a shout out to Maple Shade, New Jersey, because this town rallied behind us. People that did not know us, but learned of our challenge and said, we are here for you, and had a drive to help us financially so that we didn't have to have that worry, and I could focus on my daughter. Amen to that. Because God led me here, and God said, no worries. I will eliminate this obstacle from you, because this town said present.
Yeah. Wow. Your crisis, as I've said, your crisis bred a move of God. God moved the hearts of all the people in your town.
Yes.
To assist you.
There were people that saw it in the newspaper, that, the drives were happening, that came from other towns and said, I saw a quick blurb on the TV, or my attention was brought to this article that was in the newspaper, and I felt I had to come. And so many people were then called. I've heard accounts of people not called, obviously, for my daughter, but called for someone else in need. The gentleman, his name is Mike, who became my daughter's donor, right? He lives in Oklahoma, and Mike from Oklahoma, right? So Mike actually joined the registry. He was not on that registry. A month before donating, he was in a drive for a coworker whose daughter had leukemia. So he said, let me try and see if I'm a match for this little girl, but ended up being a match for a little girl in New Jersey.
My goodness, God is good.
And I want to mention, because we were talking about statistics earlier, and I think that this is a message that I would love to bring home today, is Mike is white. And when I met him, I said, how? I said, I have to ask you the $1 million question. How is it that you matched a little Puerto Rican girl from New Jersey? Right? When we say that genetics plays a part in your match, none of us were matches for her. How? And I asked him, did he have any diversity in his background? You have to have something. And he goes, I do. He said, my paternal grandmother is from Mexico. One person created the diversity required to save someone else's life. So if you're of mixed ethnicity, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I am begging you to join the registry, because your combination could mean life for someone else. You have the ability to give life in life. When we talk about organ donation, and your bone marrow and your immune system is an organ, usually someone has to pass away in order for you to live. Not in this case. Not in this case. You can give life to someone, and it is as simple as, in many cases, giving blood. They take the stem cells from your blood, connecting you to a catheter. They withdraw what they need. They give you back the rest.
Easy as that.
Easy as that. And to join the registry, even easier. It's a simple swab of your cheek. There's no injections. There's no needles. There's no nothing. If you go to my website, which is izzy'slegacy.com, I have made it so easy for you. My book right now is in pre-sale. You can order my book if you wish. But even more importantly is you can join the registry right from there. So if her story has moved you and you want to join the registry, We ask that you do it from the website, because then they can actually keep track of how many people join the registry because of Isabella. Right.
Absolutely.
On that website.
Absolutely. izzy'slegacy.com.
izzy'slegacy.com.
Join the registry.
Join the registry. If you do nothing else, explore the registry. Now, there is age range from 18 to 40, right? You have to be within those age range and meet some criteria. But if you're not, let's say you're outside of that, you're 41 and you still want to join and you still want to make a difference, is encourage somebody that is within that age range to join. Share the information. Share her story.
Absolutely. Do that. Let's do that. Because you were speaking about that and you mentioned 18 to 40 and I thought, I'm 41. I just missed it.
No, you too. Yes.
Yeah, your next sentence is like, but join anyway. So I thought, yeah, you know, we live for a reason. Let's make a difference in this world. Let's not just exist. Let's live and help other people, because, you know, when we need the help, someone else will come along and help us with something else, whether it's just moving from the one house to the other house or something small. But live a life of paying it forward. A swab in your mouth, I mean, that's nothing. To draw a little bit of it's nothing that you're saving someone from that misery. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, compared to other organ donations, imagine you have to lose your life. You're not losing your life. You're giving life in life.
I love that. I love that. It's a worthy cause. It's a worthy cause. And I hope and pray that the audience will respond and that they will do something about it, that they will join and, you know, contact you and say, hey, we've joined. Yeah.
We've joined. Yes, please. If you do that, send me a picture, you know, communicate with me. I think I provided you with some links, but yeah, Marilyn Morales 3817@gmail.com is my email. Send me a picture. Let me know, you know, so that I can showcase you, that you joined the registry, that you shared the information and encourage someone else to join the registry. You know, all it takes is one person. One person. One person can save many lives. Yeah. You know, I know people that have been called more than once to donate. That Mike himself was called after Isabella for someone else. You know, so there's something special about Mike, right?
Yeah, Mike, this is a shout out to you, Mike from Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Mike Hensley from Oklahoma. He is my angel. He is an angel.
Wow. Wow, he's an angel on earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Marilyn, how do you facilitate work-life balance in your life? I know you're extremely busy. You don't just work in the public healthcare, but you're also an author, you're a wife, you're a mother. You know, you are a friend to people, you work in the community. How do you juggle it all? How do you balance it all?
I wish I could say that I was an expert and doing fantabulously at it, but but it is hard, and you have to remind yourself that yes. So, you know, shutting down from work after a certain hour, making sure, you know, that you're spending time with your family, whether it's enjoying a meal and having that conversation, having that downtime, because it's not about how much time you spend, but the quality of the time that you're spending. So even if we're just eating a meal, but we're having conversation, they're able to share with me how their day is going. That's a good thing. It's not just about being next to each other. It's about actually interacting and hearing one another, listening to one another. You know, and sometimes accepting that I need to go off. Like I do something called, I went for a crystal bowl meditation. It's a special kind of meditation where they use sound. They use sound for it.
Before. Yeah, sound frequencies. And then they do
sound frequencies. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Amazing. I encourage anybody to go. At the very minimum, you're going to feel relaxed. And who can't use that? Who can't use some relaxation?
Exactly.
But at the maximum, you're activating your energy sensors. Your chakras are activated. When this is done, you feel it inside your person, and you leave there with an energy that you didn't arrive there with. So
elevating your vibration.
Elevating your vibration.
Back in line. Wow.
Yeah, I knew I was depleted. I saw an email come through, and I told my husband, I'm going. I'm sorry, honey, I got to go. I got to shut down. I'm going to shut down my phone. I need an hour for me because I'm feeling drained. I'm exhausted. I'm busy, and I need to reconnect. By the time I left that place, fantastic. I was able to I was back in business.
I love that. I'm going to go for that because I saw it. I think it was that they did this. And I listened to the sound, and I did think to myself, it's very relaxing. But then I scrolled, I didn't put the sound in and, lay down and focus on it. So yes, I'm going to look. I hope they do it in South Africa. I'm not sure. But for the audience, please go and look for this. What do you call it, Marilyn?
So they're either called singing bowls, and the singing bowls are made of something else. But the crystal bowl meditation, if you can find one near you, you're going to thank me for it. And I'd love to hear anybody who's experienced it. You're going to thank me for it. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel it in your core. You're going to feel it in your core. I can't even tell you. You've got to experience it yourself. You have to.
I love it. And you know what I'm thinking in my mind? One word: reset.
Reset. Yes, that's exactly what this is about. It's resetting your energy centers so that you can move forward. Everybody needs it. If you tell me you don't need it, you're lying to me.
Yeah, they lie.
Lying to yourselves, because I know the truth. You can say whatever you want to say, but I know that we all need it. This world is too crazy. There's too much going on in this world for us not to need a reset.
True.
Reset button. Even our computers, we're just computers. Reset.
Reset. Push that button.
Push the button. I'm telling you, just do it. Stop scrolling. So many times things come to our attention and we just ignore them. Stop ignoring. Let's be present in our lives. Let's make today the day that we decide to be present. Let's be present. And the things and the messages that come into our field are for us. Yes. Recognize that, this may be for me. Let me act on it. Let me do it.
Yeah, because then it's a thing, then where your energy flows, where your focus goes, there your energy flows.
That's
so
right.
we want to be...
So your energy flows.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it. Do it. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you did. I want to hear what you tried. I want to see how you felt as a testimony.
I'm going to give you a testimony. I actually love the video, and if you love it on TikTok, it goes into your library. So tonight, when it's calm and quiet here, I'm going to take it and I'll just listen to the same one over and over and just do my breathing and things, and then I'm going to let you know what I felt like when it was finished.
Awesome. Do that. I tell you these things, and we have to be open to them. So be open-minded. Allow it to, but be present. Whenever you feel that your mind is going somewhere else, because we're human and our minds go to something else, we're laying here and you're thinking about all the things you could be doing instead of laying there.
Yes.
Accept the thought, let it go, and say, this is where I need to be. Right here. Here.
Right.
Bring it right back. Just bring it. It takes practice, but you can bring it right back and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Allow good things to happen to you too. Bad things happen, but allow the good to happen too and accept them.
I agree. I love that. Allow good things to happen to you too. Because our day starts and it's so fast paced, and before we know it, we're all over the place. Yeah. Make that time, like you said, to be present in the moment and let something good happen to you. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. Beautiful. Yeah. So my next question: is it important for leaders to take breaks? And we are talking about that, and create space pockets. That's what I call them, space pockets. It's me time. Because when we spend time on our own, it's lovely to relax and have a meal, cook with our family, have a meal, connect with them. But that's not enough for relaxation. We need to be on our own, because we are individuals. I'm me. I function in a family, I function in a team, but I'm still me. So I'm with myself 24/7. How important is it for me to recognize, okay, now it's me time. I've been with my family, I've done what I needed to do, I've run with my team today, we finished the race for the day. How much time should I set aside for myself, and how often, and how important is that? Yeah.
It's very important, because that's when your inner compass is activated. If we have too much outside chatter, that's when we get confused as to, is this a message that's coming externally? Or is it actually, am I actually feeling this? We have to also give our minds and our hearts, remember I talk body, mind, and spirit. We feel what our bodies are telling us. we are listening to what our minds, and we're listening to our spirits, where we actually have all three speaking to us, and we can then figure out who we are, what our next step is going to be, so that they can organize, the thoughts and all the external things that have happened in our day. We have to be able to sit with everything that has happened, right? At night is excellent. Everything that happened today. What could I have done better? You can only think of those things when you're by yourself, right?
Yeah.
What did I do great? Don't just think about the things that you did wrong, because we have a tendency to, that's real easy, right? I can think about all these things that are wrong, but give yourself some positive affirmations and, hey, what did I do good today? What can I feel good about what I did today? That is just, if not more important than the things that you take and grow from. Yeah. But grow your confidence by saying, I did that good. That turned out well, and I'm happy. I can go to bed happy. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. None of us know that. But that's your time to connect. That's your time to connect and say, you know what? Thank you for today. I learned a lot today, or I made a difference today. Just our conversation made a difference today to both of us. What you said, what I said to you, we've made a difference, a positive one. Tonight we can say, thank you for that conversation that we had this morning.
Yeah. It's a blessing to have this conversation with you. We should see the blessing in that.
You have to see the blessing in all.
I'm thinking as you're speaking, you spoke about confidence. When we have that me time with ourselves, we created trust in ourselves, and then we trust our own decisions. And then we are less likely to be in denial or to get into a stressful mode, or emotion when we have to make an important decision, because we are grounded. We know who we are. Thank you for that lovely answer. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Now, as leaders, we face disappointments. We make plans. It doesn't always work out. Maybe we have to restructure our plan. I always tell people, if you fail, the failure is not you. You just missed something in your plan. You have to recalibrate and start over again. We fix this. How, in your opinion, should leaders deal with disappointments?
Learn from the disappointment.
Yeah.
Just learn and tweak what you're going to do. Sometimes it just takes a little tweak to make what I didn't turn out so well. I wish I could have, I wish I would have had this outcome. Maybe if I do this little bit of a difference, maybe I'll get the outcome that I want. But the important thing is not to succumb to the disappointment, not accept the disappointment as something that we could not learn or grow from.
Yeah. Wow.
We're here to grow our souls.
Powerful.
To grow your soul by learning this. I was disappointed by this. Acceptance. I always talk about the first step in changing anything is accepting. Don't be in denial. Accept where you are. Accept what has happened. Until you accept it as a real thing, you're not going to be able to take that next step. If you're in denial, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Powerful. Powerful. Absolutely. Accept it and then take action, like you said.
Accept it and take action. Accept, change your perspective, make a decision. That's it. Yeah. How easy. I just made life easy for you.
Yeah. Just in 3 steps. There we go. Chuff, chuff, chuff.
1, 2, 3. If you remember nothing else, remember the Morales 3-step.
Yes, the Morales method. Only 3 steps.
3 steps of leadership. Hey, I just developed something else.
We've got creative juices flowing. Amen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God is good. It's a 3-step approach.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Your book, tell us about your book. How can we pre-order? When the answer is no, finding purpose through pain, where do we go to pre-order? So easy'slegacy.com is for the if you want to go on. How do we find
on the website? It's izzyslegacy.com. 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 That's where you find information about me. It tells you about my mission. It tells you about the book. Again, a percentage of the proceeds of the book is actually going to the Isabella Morales Foundation, and that is for the education of others in regards to bone marrow donation. because my thoughts and my true thoughts and feelings are that the reason why there is this discrepancy, and I've been asked this so many times, why do I think that there's such a discrepancy? Everything boils down to education. You can't make an informed decision if you don't know the details.
Yeah.
If you don't know how easy it is to join, if you don't know how easy it could be for you to donate, if you don't know how many people are out there, babies or adults, or how many people out there are in need of that transplant. Yeah. You know, if you don't know those things, you're not going to take action.
Yes.
So let me educate you. And then there's a certain distrust that comes from those demographics, right? From the African Americans, from the Hispanics. There's a level of distrust, unfortunately, because of things that have happened in their past, right? So there's, and why do I think that I'm the best person to relay this information? Because I'm a mom, because I'm a woman, because I'm Hispanic, and because I'm a medical professional. So God has put me in the situation where I have all the tools to say, hey, trust me. It's not going to harm you. And you're going to give life to someone. And that could be you.
Fantastic. Yeah. You never know. That's the thing. We never know.
You never know. And why wait? I joined the registry when I was 25 years old, before I started my family. I was in church one day with my husband, and we were just newlyweds, and they were having a drive for somebody who was in need. And I was like, let's go. So I thought we went downstairs and let's go do it. Let's go join. And in all those years, neither him nor I have been called. We have never been called. So joining the registry doesn't mean you'll be called, but at least we're out there in case there's someone in need. And once you join, you're there until you're 60 years old. So until I'm 60, so I've got a good 7 years left before I'm taken off.
Good.
So I've been there for a long time. And I know a lot of people that have been there for a long time. But we're there and we're present. And, you know, before I needed it, who knew that I was going to need this just a few years later? You know?
You never know. Do the best we can do to help everybody that we can help. Having a little swab done, it's nothing compared to what those patients go through when they are ill. Giving a little bit of blood. Just go and join the registry, and you never know. Maybe you need it someday. Maybe someone needs you. These are the basic things that we should just do, you know?
Yes.
So we can know that we are signed up to make a difference in society. I love that. And you make a difference not only in those areas, because I've seen that you attended and participated in a speakers competition. And I was so proud to hear how well you did. So please tell us about it. We want to celebrate it with you.
No, thank you. I will tell you that I entered that competition, but obviously because I have to start speaking. You know, I'm a nurse. This is out of my comfort zone. So getting in front of people, I'm not comfortable with it. And I had to start getting comfortable with it. So, you know, I said, I have to start joining things where I'm in front of people that I'm not used to, strangers, right? And learning how to speak. I went in there not expecting anything. It was a competition, but I was like, I'm not going to win this. It's my first time on a stage, you know, doing something like this. My first time. I said, so I'm going to get on stage. And, you know, I went there with a 3-day event. I wanted to learn from others. I wanted to learn how to do this. How do you get over your stage fright? How do you get over, you know, delivering your message, you know, making some new connections, because I want to make a difference. It was all because I want to be able to talk about my book and talk about this experience. And I made it to the semifinals, which was shocking.
Congratulations. Wow. That's amazing.
I said, you know what? I don't have a style. I had a coach that I was working with that I had said, you know, I need to start learning how to speak in front of other people besides medical professionals. I said, I need to learn how to do this. So we worked a couple times on it, and I'm like, you know what? And one of the things I told him is, I can only be me. I can only be authentic. I'm not the kind of person that can memorize a speech or know what I'm going to go in there. I just said this to you. I'm very unscripted. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We entered this conversation with some kind of a guidance, but we don't know what's going to come out. Right.
And look, so
right. Exactly. So it went well, Just being authentic, just being myself, and just delivering the message.
That's the best way. That's the best way, and it's going to take you very far. Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be the strategy moving forward, just being myself.
Beautiful. And talking about moving forward and going forward, what's next for you?
Just continuing to talk about the book, continuing to talk about donations. So it's just getting in front of more people. So anybody is interested in me participating or speaking at their event, I welcome any offers to do that, any opportunity to get in front and talk about the bone marrow registry and have people sign up. That's what I'm all about. You know, I want to leave this earth continuing my daughter's legacy, you know, picking up where she left off. And, you know, my brother put it the best. After we lost her, my brother said, you know, she earned her wings, but she also obtained her PhD. Please help deliver. And that's what I'm doing.
Amazing. I'm going to remember that. And we're going to cheer you on. We are going to cheer you on, and we are going to keep praying for you. I'm going to keep you in my prayers. I know God's going to do amazing things through you, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Because you're a strong leader. And here at Meticulous Moments, we want to facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And I feel like you're doing that in all the areas of your life. So well done.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And thank you for this opportunity today. Thank you.
And before we close, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience?
Yes. Remember my 3-step approach that we just created today on Meticulous Moments.
I love that.
Acceptance, perspective, and choice.
Amen. Wonderful advice.
Remember that.
Thank you, Marilyn. Well, it has been such a delight to have you on Meticulous Moments. I mean, if you and I start, sharing, I'm sure we can go for hours. But absolutely. I do know you need to get to work, and, your day is starting. You need to go save lives and help people and, make society a better place. And we are cheering you on, and we are thankful for this time that you took apart to sit with us, give us your knowledge and understanding and your wisdom. And you must just have a wonderful day. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, thank you so much for joining. I'm sure you have learned a lot, as I have, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.